My guest today is Marcell Fóti. Marcell is an IT engineer turned ancient mysteries researcher, and he has a theory about how the ancients were able to build the megalithic stone structures that we marvel at today all across the globe. His theory involves the concept that the stones were actually geopolymers, which were molded or poured, as opposed to being carved with something like bronze tools. Natron, which is basically a form of salt, is a key aspect of this theory and a primary catalyst for the chemical processes that would underlie this concept. We're going to be diving into this and a lot more in this interview today. So thank you very much. And without further ado, here's Marcell Fóti. Marcell, would you mind just kind of telling us who you are, your background? And I understand that this is something that you've gotten into more or less recently. And
yes,
how did you get into that? This is such a journey.
Okay, so my background, I'm an IT guy. I used to be an IT guy, and I sold my company, so I had a lot of free time to travel, and then COVID hit, so I started to travel online only, and this was back in 2020, and I think I spent a year or two just watching what other people were doing because everything was closed down in the past, and I ran into some mythbusters, like, for example, Jeffrey Drum, who explained what was the real function of the pyramids, and that interview with him, that particular interview, just lit a light bulb in my head that ordinary people can solve mysteries just by sitting at home and doing virtually nothing, just thinking, and he liberated my thinking, and I started to look for a good mystery to solve, and I randomly pick up this unfinished obelisk scoop mark mystery, basically randomly, yeah, and try to solve it, and it was last summer, yeah, it's almost a year ago. And I didn't have a clue, sort of nothing, absolutely nothing. I didn't know what granite is. I didn't know. Okay, I knew where Egypt is, but basically that was the level I started. I didn't know chemistry at all.
The obelisk that you're referencing, that's in Egypt?
Yeah, that's in. I mean this unfinished obelisk.
Right.
It's in Aswan. It's south. Yeah, it's in the south of Egypt, on the side of the Nile River. So and this particular obelisk hasn't been finished, as the name implies, and that's a mystery. And also there is a mystery how it was so-called carved, because the carving is very special. It's like nothing else, and maybe this would be the first picture I try to show.
This would be the scoop marks mystery.
Oh yeah, the scoop marks. How a scoop mark? Oh, it was there, and I was so yeah.
And these scoop marks, they're not just in this obelisk in Aswan, but they're across the globe in various.
Yes, they are everywhere. They are. Okay. Yes. This one, I know I'm not sharing the screen yet, but I would like to show a very good one. This is the problem when you have, oh my god.
And for folks listening, there is a lot of information on natrontheory.com, which actually does show pictures of these scoop marks as well.
What if I show a different place where all these scoop marks are, and this is Stonehenge. Let me, because it's so much photos. Let me share. Yeah, screen. Yeah, I think this is the one. Can you see my picture library? Yeah. That's, and in the middle, let me click on it. Oh, it's so small. Sorry. And okay, it was bigger. Oh, I'm okay. So here we are, and these scoop marks in the red line, inside the red line, is not from are not from Egypt. This is from, what did I say? Stonehenge. Stonehenge. Yeah. So it's a worldwide. But if I try to show you, these are my experiments to recreate the scoop marks, and many of them failed.
Wow.
That's why I can.
Stone in that sense?
Yeah. Okay, let's show this one. So here you can see a thermometer, and it's a video, and it's a little bit speed up, and you have to reach 851 degrees Celsius to start the etching process, and it's an oven, and you can look inside the oven. And I have this granite, it's the oven, and I have this granite slab, and try to create. Do you see the mouse when I'm moving the mouse? Yeah. Okay. Right. So I try to create this size of a scoop mark here. You can see, and the Natron didn't care, so it etched this granite slab everywhere. Actually, everywhere else, because where I wanted to have the scoop mark, it's undamaged, and all around it's edged. So it was and this one, the left one is black granite, and the right one is red granite, and you can see the same here, that I tried to create a scoop mark up here, and then Natron didn't give a shit and escaped and etched the stone everywhere else. So I have this is a failed attempt. But anyway, so
it's the lava basically rolling across the rock.
Yeah.
More or less. Okay.
Yeah, and etching everything. So let me stop this for a moment.
So how did you get the idea of Natron? Because I understand this wasn't the first thing that you tried. You tried a more mechanical solution at first.
Because I checked how modern humanity works with granite, and I found that they are working with water, just water jet, simple water, nothing else, just H2O. And that's why I decided to create a huge machine with stones and bones and wooden sticks and whatever's, just caveman style, which has the necessary pressure to carve the stone, these scoop marks. And it failed because I didn't know nothing about pressure and physics at all, because I was an IT guy. And when we calculated how large this machine has to be, it was enormous. So
it's gonna break under its own weight, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Right. And you have to build it so high, it's totally meaningless.
I see.
But and this was the mechanical way I tried to do. But one of my friends showed me a YouTube video where a guy was telling that he can dissolve the stone of the pyramids. And we watched the video, and this guy did the following. He had a piece of rock, and he put it in boiling water, and it fell apart. But it was just boiling water, he did nothing. And what was really interesting turn of events, that one of my friends told me that we can repeat this experience because he has a piece of stone himself, because his father brought one when he was young, in the 70s, I guess, it was 1970s somehow. And he brought this piece of stone from the pyramid, and we put it in boiling water, and nothing happened. So basically the first breadcrumb that this is somehow solvable by chemistry was totally wrong, because the guy, the YouTuber, just solved some mud or I don't know what,
right?
but not the stone.
Granite.
Yeah, but not the stone. But this was the moment I started to think about a chemical way, and we all know that granite is indestructible, so you cannot do it, and you cannot do anything with it. If you try acids, no way, nothing happens. If you try bases or alkali, nothing happens. okay, are there any other chemical materials that we can try to use? And this thinking led me to salts. And it turned out that there are a long list of different kind of salts we have in nature. Table salt is just one of them, and there is a long list, very long list of salts. And if you have a salty lake, you have a dozen different kind of salts in it, not just table salt. And how did I figure out that natron? How was it? Yeah. After trying acids, and it was a failure, I did a little research online. What is granite? What's the composition of granite? What if I'm not attacking granite, but I'm attacking one of the components of granite, and that might be a better way to do it. And I checked this, and I found out that granite is 75% quartz, just quartz, like sand. So granite is glued together with quartz, and the rest 25% is just small grains, giving it a texture, but it's quartz. And that was a turning point, because I was able to find a page that described that quartz can be etched with molten natron. And I gave it a try. Okay, where is natron? It's in the hardware shop nearby, so I bought some. Actually, it was from my wife, because it's a washing powder. No, the first batch was from my wife. I used her washing powder. And I tried to do a little experiment with a tin can. I eat out what was in there. It was peas. I put a piece of granite in there and a spoon or 2 spoons of washing powder, this natron thing. I put it in this grill chimney. I don't know the US name of it. We call it the green chimney, where helps you build the charcoal. So
yeah.
Charcoal. All
Yeah,
right.
we call it a grill chimney as well. Yeah, just
Yeah,
charcoal
it's a grill. Charcoal.
in a tube. Right.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's a tube, and there are holes on the bottom to let the air go through it.
And you have videos of this on your website as well, where you're heating it up inside of the tube. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was very surprising, because this etching process was successful for the first try, and I was what? Because before that, all my experiments has failed, and this one was successful, bang, for the first try.
So you had it molten, you had it hot. How did you know how to get it warm, or that you needed to heat it up? The natron.
It was on that web page I found, which was working with dealing with quartz. There is a German page called quartz.de, something like this, or I can't remember exactly, but similar.
Yes.
And it was the chemical equation. What happens if you use this heat and this material and this quartz, and what will happen? So it was there.
Right.
So it's not my invention at all. It's just connecting the dots or connecting different fields. Mm-hmm. So it worked. And then I realized that there are several industries who are using this technology right now, today, so it's not an unknown technology at all. For example, if you want to decompose a computer chip, you use molten natron, because it's from silica, and molten natron will remove the silica, and you will have the precious metal.
I see.
So,
fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. So it was working for the first try, and then when you do it, you will have some kind of foamy, whitish material on the rock, on the granite. And the next step was to figure out what the heck is this? What is this foamy? It was hard, but it's like fluffy.
Right.
And I don't know how I realized that it was okay. And this was water glass.
Mm-hmm.
And one more material, I didn't have a clue what is it. So I started to investigate what is water glass and what is good for. And this was the way I bumped into geopolymers. Modern 21st century geopolymers are made from this material, from water glass.
Okay.
And then again, light bulb. Oh, it's good for creating stones. Then, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good for creating stones.
Right. So essentially, to recap, you basically wanted to tackle a mystery, and you chose the scoop marks on these various megalithic structures. And ultimately, the first trial was to try to water pressure carve these things, and ultimately that's just not feasible, especially with caveman technologies. And so we kind of transitioned to try a more chemical approach, which is, I think, potentially a big reason why this hasn't been something that's been really as discussed in the past, especially in the archaeology field, because they're not necessarily focused on the chemistry per se, right? So, and then ultimately you found, okay, this actually does seem to, I guess, for lack of a better words, would you say it weakens or softens the granite so that it can be molded in a way? Is that kind of a fair assumption?
No, I would say it decomposes it. It
decomposes it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's removing all the quartz, and then what we're going to do in theory is replace that quartz with a different skeleton. Basically?
Yeah. Which is easy to crush, because there are these pounding stones at the unfinished obelisk, and it's unreasonable to hit the granite with these pounding stones. But if you etch it first and this fluffy thing is there, now it's a good idea to crush it with these diorite stones.
I see. So we're weakening the stone, and so that we can. So we're still using pounding stones, but we're not using it on hard Mohs scale 7 or 8 granite.
No.
We're using something that's been weakened, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. It's different. Okay. Actually, it's a different material by then.
Right. It's not even granite at that point.
No.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm curious. Would you be able to tell, in theory, if we did do this transition, that the skeleton was no longer quartz and that it was some other material like the water glass? Is there a chemical way to actually analyze something like that?
Absolutely, yeah. They behave totally differently. For example, granite is not it's not reactive for acids or something, but water glass is. Water glass creates crystals. If you try HCl, what's that? The English name, I don't know. It's an acid, everyday acid. You can buy it in the hardware shop as well, and it will force the water glass to crystallize, so it behaves completely differently. Okay,
gotcha. So you mentioned that you had a stone from Egypt that you were working with at one point.
One of my friend had. Yes, yeah. We still have it because we.
Would it be possible to test that stone to see what its skeleton is made of, if it's quartz or if it's water glass?
We need to separate the stone families right now, because when we are talking about granite, it's a volcanic stone.
Okay.
And pyramids were built from limestone, and limestone is a totally different category. It is from the seashells and little animals, and the composition is mainly calcium, while this one is mainly silicon.
Okay, I see.
But there are a lot of stones that are volcanic, so not only granite can be etched with molten natron, but basalt, diorite, tuff.
Anything with quartz at the end of the day.
Anything with quartz, because we are attacking the quartz part, yes.
Okay, I see. Right on. Fascinating. That's incredible. So I'm curious, how we obviously have the benefit of the internet and discussions and videos on YouTube. How would, in your opinion, how would the ancient people have discovered something like this?
I had a long post about this. It's a little bit of fantasy, but it can be discovered randomly by mistake, because all of these materials were around them. Let me give you a short description. How can you bump into it and discover it without any laboratory or something? Right. It's easy. If you create a huge fire, a great one, because you are cold, you are caveman, and this fire will create a lot of wood ash, for sure, because it's burning trees, blah, blah, blah. And let's suppose that you have to kill the fire is putting off. You will cut this out. Put off the fire, and you have water a mile away, but you have dirt right there. So you throw that dirt on the fire, and you will put the fire off. And then the rain comes, and the rain will do some magic. And then you light the fire once again, and you repeat this. You will have a stone, a thin layer of stone at the bottom, because you will have everything in this fire. If it's a big fire, we will have everything. You will have natron, because some plants ash contains natron. It's there. You will have quartz, because you sprinkle it with dirt. Right. You will have 851 degrees, because it's a fire. And you will have the water from the air, from the skies, and you have all the ingredients for a good stone, which is earth, wind, fire. What is the the four elements? What is heat?
Earth, wind, fire, and ice. Earth, wind, fire, and ice.
No, earth.
No.
Wind, fire, water.
Water. There we go.
Water. Yeah. These four. So basically, if you just do your everyday life, you inadvertently create a small layer of stone in big fires. And if you are smart enough to investigate what is it and who put it there, because it was not me, the gods put it there, or what, you can figure out that this was created by nature or gods. But you can force this process, and you can have more stone and thicker stone just by repeating this process. The only trick is that you have to put dirt on it sometimes, because you need the quartz part.
Right. So that's kind of an accidental discovery in a way.
Yeah, like how do you discover how to create wine? You don't. You just lazy. You are just lazy. You forget some fruits outside, and you will have a very bad quality but wine, and you can then refine the recipe later.
Okay, that's fascinating. So I'm curious. You probably need a substantial amount of natron to be able to do the kinds of architecture that we see across the planet. So where are the major sources of natron? Ultimately, it's just a salt at the end of the day?
It's a salt, yeah.
Okay. Where would one find
it? Let me show you my map. I hope it's on there, because it's very interesting. Share screen. Let me see. This is my custom map with places with endless natron and rock carvings. We can go into details, but for now I will try to look for body Natron. So the name natron and the name natrium or sodium natrium is coming from this place, Wadi El Natron. this is a salty lake in Egypt, and let's zoom out a little bit here as well. And this is an endless source of natron, these salty lakes here. And it's a long line of salty lakes near Cairo, I guess. Was that it? Tonto, I don't know, but it's in the Nile Delta, as you can see. So there is that marker here. This is Wadi al Natron, and this is a place where they quarried or just found collected natron for X thousand years. It's very old, and this can be used to. It's when I'm saying it's endless, it means it's endless. So it's a huge amount. But anyway, these white spots like this one are natron as well, because not only that one, but for example, if we zoom in here in the desert, it's just a totally random place. I just realized here is natron, and you zoom in and it's salt and it's natron. So it's everywhere. Egypt is a place where if you draw a stone, you will hit a natron field. So
are there any forests? Would you find it in forests in other climates as well? Because obviously we have architecture in places like Peru and South America, but from what I understand, those have been forested and humid for a long time. Would you still be able to get natron in other locations?
Yes, that's Salinas de Maras. This is what my map is all about. For example, in Peru, you have these salt evaporation ponds, as you can see here. It cannot zoom in any further, but these are salt evaporation ponds. And if I zoom out, you will find all the usual suspect places where they did the megalithic structures. Like, now zoom out some more, it makes this is the same. Where are you? Ollantaytambo, the first one is coming in.
Right. And
here we are, what's that? Sacsayhuaman and Cusco. So all these places are, and this last one is, oh come on, show me, Machu Picchu. So all of these are around this green marker, which turns to blue, I don't know why, which is the salt evaporation place where they can create, I don't know how many tons of salt yearly, and some part of this is natron.
Okay,
so even it's high in the mountains, it's a special place because this is where natural salty water comes out from the ground, and ta-da! Here is the natron source.
Gotcha. Okay. So just to clarify, so I understand, essentially what we've seen is that there seems to be a lot of consistency or correlation between the locations of where natron can be found very easily, and also the locations of where these megalithic structures are.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not restricted to just deserts. It's in every climate, it seems like.
Yeah. Let me show you one more place, or two more maybe, because these are interesting places. Let me go to Turkey. You have these underground cities in Derinkuyu.
Right.
And I was there and tried to carve the walls. Don't tell anyone. And this is the area. And I thought there are only a few hundred underground cities. It's just a couple of them, but it turned out that there is almost 500 of them, and all of these are in this rectangle of salty lakes like these. As you can see, these are the places where you can have and produce and harvest natron.
Right.
And let me show you India, and you can say it's just a random fact, yeah, it can be, because it's not proven yet. But let me show you India.
Are there any places that break this pattern where we have something
I
that's
like haven't
this, but there
found
isn't?
any. Okay, my map is not complete, but I haven't found any. And have a look at this. Here, what is this? This is Uda Yigiragi blah 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 caves. It's a huge megalithic carving site, and you have the Natron source close by. They are in pairs, Chilika Lake and the other. So it's not that they are around a Natron source, because it's a huge area, but you have 4 blue marks where there is unlimited Natron source, and they have the megalithic structures close by.
Right.
And you can ask, why are they not on the beach of these?
Right.
That's because these are different kind of stones. Where Natron is, it's limestone. It's an old seabed, which is not granite. You can collect the Natron there and walk out from this area, walk to the volcanic area, and you can use it. So it's very rare that they are in so close proximity. You have to walk into the old dried lake, collect the Natron, and walk back to the volcanic stones and start working.
Right. Okay. That's fascinating. So I'm curious, just to kind of step back for a moment to, I think, one of the ones that's kind of the most famous megalithic piece of architecture, which is the Giza Plateau. You mentioned that much of that is a limestone.
It's limestone.
Rock.
Yeah.
So would there be, because I understand that there's folks who think that at least the casing stones could have been achieved in a similar fashion. So do you have any thoughts on how, like, is there a similar molecule like Natron that would be able to do this for limestone?
It's easier. It's easier than that, because there is a guy called Joseph Davidovich, who is also called the geopolymer Pope, and he has proven that there is such a thing as artificial limestone, and he actually created several ton blocks back in 2003 or something, and these several ton artificial limestone blocks are still there. And I think the story goes like this: to create this blackish stone, if we go have a look at one of these. Now it's the lake, it's the carving. Blah blah blah. Let's try another one. Was a Badami cave temples. Let's try to find a photo. Badami caves. Yeah, it's not blue. Okay, but there are some. Oh, it's okay, but it's dark. It's not white, for sure. If you create this kind of geopolymers, it requires a lot of wood ash, and it's a civilization killer technology, because you have to cut down the trees to have the right amount of wood ash to create this. What happened in Egypt is that they ran out of trees. This is not proven. This is storytelling.
Right.
And after they ran out of trees, there was a guy called Imhotep who invented the new stone, which do not require wood ash. That's why it was possible for the Egyptians to continue their civilization, because they switched from wood ash based stone and water glass based stone to artificial limestone, which interestingly also uses natron. So endless natron is absolutely required to create artificial limestone, but it's possible, and you don't have to cut down the trees. So there was an industrial revolution in Egypt after they invented this artificial limestone.
I'm really curious, do you have any perspective on what timeline that this would have started to occur? Because there's traditional understandings of when things like the pyramids and the plateau were developed, but I also know that there's folks who think that that's potentially much older, well beyond 12,000 years. Do you have any perspective, or does that even really matter for your theory?
You know what? Let me show you something. Did I stop the screen sharing? I stopped it, I guess. Let me show you something else. And this will be my opinion.
Okay. This is something I'm fascinated by. I'm constantly thinking about this, so I'm always loving to hear people's thoughts.
Can I find a good quality of this? Here we are. There is a tomb in Egypt which has this wall painting. This is the tomb of Rick Meyer. And
we still
this
see the Badami Caves map, just a heads up. We're still on the Google map for the cave temple.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me reshare it somehow. Yeah, I can see now. Okay, let me...
a different window.
Screen. Ta. Aha. What about this?
Yes,
so, on the left.
Yeah, the mural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Let me try to zoom in somehow. I have to reshare it, I guess, if I open it on a new page. Very good. Let me reshare it again, once again. Puff. Screen. This one. So, this is my opinion about the timing. What you can see here when I'm moving the mouse, two guys standing on some equipment, and they have these strings in his hands, and there is something in between them. Officially, there is an official explanation of this. Officially, they are smelting some kind of metal, probably copper. But if it's smelting, it's a stupid way to do it, because you will end up with molten copper on the floor. And what do you do with this? It's on the floor. Oh my God, we didn't think through. It's on the floor. It's stupid.
Yeah.
One of the members of this community I'm working with realized that this must be the way they created the scoop marks. So they are not melting
so the granite
copper.
Would be on the floor, potentially.
Yeah, they are really hitting the floor because they would like to melt the floor, the granite. And that's a good idea. And these equipments on their foot is foot bellows. You can see it on the right as well. And these strings are to move it back and forth, because they didn't invent the iron and the spring, so they have to make it up and down.
Right. And
this bluish thing is molten natron. It's actually blue when it's melted. And wow. This is charcoal on the top, amber. And this one in the back, it's either more natron, or the end of the etching process, this was removed using these pounding stones. And what happens next is that using the same fire, they boil it. Here they are boiling it again.
Right.
And then they pour it into these vases, little vases on the right, to clean it, because when they pour it there, the etching process is not perfect, so there will be some leftover natron in it, which is not good for making this kind of stone. So they pour it in these vases, and the natron comes to the top, and they remove this unwanted natron, and what they will end up is pure water glass. And if we go, can I scroll?
And I don't think many people have heard of water glass before. What exactly is water glass?
Before I answer that, so this is my opinion when this was available for humanity, because this wall painting is not 20,000 years old for sure.
Okay.
It's much younger, and they are doing this technology. You can clearly, and if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that they are creating stone blocks down here from this material. They are bringing the material to other guys. They are pouring it out, and they are creating these stone blocks.
Wow.
So they are not creating copper blocks. It's unreasonable. They are creating stone blocks. Okay, so what is water glass? Basically, it's a glue. You can use it as a paper glue. Natron has at least 10 uses, and water glass also has at least 10 uses. One of them is paper glass. One of them is food addictive. It has a code name E550, and they put it in pudding powder to make it smooth. So you actually eat some water glass. You eat pudding. They put it in tap water because it crystallizes everything and will collect the. It's just
in the water.
Purifying water.
I see.
And
is it just like glass in just a different format, a different chemical lattice?
It's a soluble glass. Yeah, that's the name. That's why the name is water glass. It's a water soluble glass. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
But if you don't give something to crystallize, it's a very fragile. It's not even glass. It's very fragile. You can dry it, and you can have a look at it. Oh, it's beautiful, but it's fragile. But if you give something that this can crystallize, you will have very hard material. Then this is how modern geopolymers are created. They have this water glass, and they give them metakaolin, a kind of clay, right. And these two create a substance that will turn into stone. So.
Okay. Incredible.
Okay.
So just to close the loop on this mural here. So what you're saying is, we don't have to go back 20,000 years or more to really justify this technology. This seems like something that could have just as feasibly been done within the timelines that modern archaeology
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah, we have a kind of proof. It's not an official proof, because officially it's not etching granite, sure. but if you treat it as a series of pictures that are connected, then you can clearly see it's not melting copper, because on the next scene you cannot see copper, you can see water glass in the background, and they are creating stone. So officially it's not a proof that it was available only a few thousand years ago, but unofficially.
I think that's the biggest thing for me, which kind of makes me so fascinated by this discussion, is because so many of the explanations that were given about how these various different structures were actually developed, they just don't seem to actually align with common sense. So, for example, the scoop marks, it's just not a feasible or realistic way to actually dig into stone to leave these ridges on the edges. Like, if you're going to destroy a stone, you want to hit the weakest points of it. Similarly, It seems like this mural, the classic explanation for this mural of smelting bronze or copper doesn't really track with our understanding of how one would actually do that. So we're either saying that these ancient cultures were stupid, which I don't think they were, right? I think that they were probably, I mean, the fact that they did what they did is clearly a testament to their expertise. Maybe a different form of expertise, but expertise nonetheless. And so that's why I love this. Yeah.
They clearly didn't know nothing about the periodic table or covalent bonds or whatever. But if they could cook meal, they could cook stone. So what's the difference? Fire, ingredients, bowl. What's the difference? The difference that we are not doing this. That's not the. So. Or
Do you have
catch. Yep.
Do you have a
Sorry.
picture of that stone obelisk? I just wanted to see if maybe we could put that up
Yeah.
for a second.
The unfinished one.
The unfinished obelisk at Aswan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's one thing that I'm kind of trying to get a better understanding of, which is, so when we put this picture up, we're going to see that there's a sizable obelisk in the ground that's essentially been excavated in some
I
form
will
or
show.
fashion.
Yeah.
Right.
I will show you an aerial view because it's very interesting to see.
Right.
This one. It looks like this.
Okay.
Am I sharing that right? Yeah.
I can see
Okay.
it. Yes. Yes. Thank you, sir. So what I'm curious about is, can you walk me through? Let's say that they were able to finish whatever the thing that they were doing with this location was. Are they ultimately digging it out and they're using softened granite to do so? But what's going to happen? Why is it that this obelisk is so formed? Is this going to just be erected? Or are you saying that this is going to be broken down and then reconstituted in a different location?
Or the third option, it's not an obelisk. If you have a good look at it, there is a slight color difference between the obelisk and the stone they supposedly cut it out.
Oh,
and
wow, yeah.
yeah, it's not only on the obelisk, on the side of the obelisk. And let me show you. This is the side of the obelisk, and it's
So the obelisk
kind
is
of
gray and everything else is
gray,
kind of
greenish or
yellow.
something. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you go to the pit, it's the same angle for the light, and you can see it's yellowish, and this one is greenish grayish, so it's a different color for sure.
So
and
what are
it's
the
not
odds that we have a perfect set of different stone in the shape of this? That seems
Yeah.
So it seems like something molecular was going on here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So there is a theory that this is not an obelisk to stand up. It's a mold to create obelisks. It's an obelisk factory, but the mold was created using geopolymer. So this thing in the pit is from geopolymer.
Right. Has anybody been able to test that and see what its chemical or molecular makeup is?
You have very good questions. If it's decided it's natural no matter what. So even if you can tell apart artificial and natural stone, if you decided it's natural. And this is and this is because it's very hard to tell apart.
Because at the end of the day, it's all made up of the same underlying materials, but
kind of, yeah. Only the glue, the binding is different. So the original has quartz as a binder, and the geopolymer has aluminum silicate as a binder. But it's just the glue, and if you don't investigate the glue, then the granite grains are the very same because they reuse it as a filler. So you are investigating 1 million billion zillion years old granite grains in both of these, but you should switch to investigate the binder,
the glue,
which is different.
That's what we need to look at. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I did not think about it in that way, but now that you put it like that, I can understand what you're saying. Because the contemporary explanation for this, just to kind of give people some context here, is that this obelisk was dug out in the way that you see, and then the folks that were doing this realized it was too big to move.
Yeah.
But after they dug it out, which is another explanation or a situation where it's like that just doesn't
how stupid
connect.
we were. Yeah.
Right. We dig the whole thing, and then we decide we can't move it. Wouldn't we have realized that at least halfway through, or at the beginning?
Yeah. You realize you cannot lift it when you are below the stone. You dig below. There are photos that it's almost ready to ship. But yeah, it's a stupid explanation to realize you cannot lift it after spending so many work hours to carve it.
I see. So this is more of like a casting situation then, ultimately.
Yeah.
Kind of molding.
Yeah.
All right. That's a totally different perspective than I had approached this with. So thank you for that. That's really illuminating. If that's correct, that's really incredible. I'm curious, could you kind of walk me through what is unresolved for you? What are some things that kind of keep you up at night where you're thinking to yourself, how do I get around this, or how do I explain this thing or that thing? What's unresolved for you about this theory?
It's first of all, it's a complete surprise that I was able to not to discover but to collect information that was available, but no one tried to use it for this field, and this happens every day. Like this one, there is a color change here, or color difference. Every day is a surprise, and this is fascinating. And I told somebody it's like you have a puzzle with 1,000 pieces, and you just throw the pieces into the air and turn back. You turn your back to the falling pieces, and when you turn back again, the puzzle is ready. All the pieces fed to the right place. This is what's happening with me.
Right.
So, and this can keep you up at night, that whichever part you are starting to work on, you realize something surprising and logical and fascinating. So yes, it feels like there is a road I'm going on. Yes, that's it.
So if I could maybe rephrase so I understand, it's almost like this is the things, it's almost too good to be true in a way. Things are falling together in a way that is just blowing the mind, all these consistencies that you keep finding.
Every day.
That's either because you're crazy or because there's actually something to this, it seems like, potentially.
Yeah.
That's kind of it, right? Okay.
Yeah. For example, when I started to create this map, where you can see the correlation between megalithic sites and Natron sources, I didn't expect to have 100% overlap, but it's 100% overlap. So even the hardest riddle could be solved with the theory. Let me show you one. Okay. Let me share the screen again. This one. Yeah. This is Sri Lanka. There is only one marker in Sri Lanka. This one. This is Sigiriya. I wish I could show. I'm not jumping in and out, so let me. Show it to you this way. Go back to the map. This is
I haven't seen this one before.
Really, it's a huge granite mountain, and on the top of the mountain, it's from granite, as I told you. On the top of the mountain, there are swimming pools and structures and megalithic carvings that cannot be possibly made with those old tools. I cannot find an area. Here it is. You see the swimming pool, for example. So these structures, all of them, were supposedly carved using copper chisels, but it's a fucking swimming pool, so it took a long time to. Okay, and the other thing is that on the at the entry on the bottom there are these
an animal carved into that.
Yeah,
there's like
but what you can see is a color change, a color difference again, which in my theory shows that this is artificial. So if if I'm right, the swimming pool was edged out with molten natron, and the result was water glass. And using water glass, you could create this animal leg.
I see.
Okay, so how can I find the endless natron source there? And let me go back. And this was a very challenging one.
Right, because that's an island. So where are they going to get the salt?
It's an island, yeah. I don't think they brought the natron from here up there in India. They should have some local source, and the local source, and it was the end result is there is no concentrated natron source in Sri Lanka, but their most severe problem days back in the history is that their rice fields are salty. So this whole island is a natron producer in itself. Everywhere you zoom in, you will find, let's try this lake. You will find lake, and you zoom in, and yeah, and it's not as convincing, but it's everywhere, and they are picking up the salt inadvertently, because they have these veva. Can you see this veva? Veva means lake, and they create these lakes, artificial lakes. Is going up and down according to the season, and these are the vevas everywhere, and they here, yeah, it's salty again. It's salty here. It's a tank again. It's a it's a veva.
So it's just not as concentrated in a single location.
No,
like
but
it
comes to the surface once a year when they fill up these.
Right.
No, when they use this water for irrigation, and the level of the water goes down, the salt comes up to the surface, and you can collect it. And there are beautiful photos. They are fighting with this salt everywhere on the rice fields because of this irrigation system they are using thousands of years.
Right.
So even there is you have endless natron source, and that's what I call 100% overlap.
All right, so that's kind of a situation where it's not immediately obvious how this was accomplished, but you have a pretty convincing explanation for that. Something else that's been really unclear to me is the boxes in the Serapeum and how those would have been developed. So under your theory, are you saying that they would have potentially built the boxes inside of the rooms that they're currently inside of, or something?
I did the math that these boxes, some of them are 60 tons or more, and the lid is 20 more tons or something. And I did a small calculation how many people, strong man, you need to move a 60-ton weight box. And if a man can pull 100 kilograms, it's a very strong man. So 10 people can bring 1 ton, and you have to move 60 tons. It's 600 strong men to pull the box on the sand. 600
inside of a hallway. Right?
yeah, in the cave. So it's impossible. But if you can cast those boxes with artificial granite, it's not impossible. You just bringing the ingredients into the cave, and you create the box.
I see. Okay. So instead of bringing in one massive thing, we're just bringing in some buckets of something and then ultimately putting it together on the spot. Okay.
Yes.
That's fascinating, right? Okay, cool. There's so we're getting to the end of our time together, and I want to respect your time, but there are a couple other questions I want to hit really briefly. So I was really curious, are you familiar with the vases? Obviously, we mentioned the vases in that mural, but there are certain vases that have been discovered in Egypt.
The high precision vases,
Yeah, they're just so perfect. So is that something that you've thought about, or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so high precision, you can create high precision things with gravity only. Let me give you just one example.
Okay.
If you pour concrete or just this geopolymer thing, it will be flat because of gravity. And that's one thing. So these are the boxes. So how you create completely flat boxes? You pour the material this way and you stand it up and it's completely flat. Okay, just one idea. The other, rotation can create perfect shapes. So I think we should change the way of thinking of these precision vases to find out how they did it without the high technology we don't find.
Right.
Because we have this vase, okay, and it's high precision, all right, and it's thin, okay, and maybe you can carve the outside, okay, but how do you do the inside?
Right.
But if you build up it somehow, it can be done. So I'm thinking of a smart ancient people, smart people who used some kind of tricky methods of casting to create these.
A centrifuge where they spin it, and then as it spins, it hardens into a perfect.
Right. Yeah. For example, just an example. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. So that's really interesting. Yeah. Do you have anything else on that?
Yes, there is a vase. I will never find it when the inclusions are so strange. It looks like it's not natural. Let me try to. Precision vase Egypt. Let me see the images. They are. Some of them are. Yeah, this one. Let me just a sec. I will open it in a new page. Come on. Na. Nem jó. Open. Okay, and share screen. Where is share screen? Where are you? Oops, I lost you. No. Here. This one, for example. Let's see this one. What is this?
Oh.
You see? Can you see this?
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's beautiful, but is it? I'm not a geologist, but is it a natural stone? And there are other examples that looks like an artistic way of creating stone or something.
Right.
Is this real?
This is like that stone you made with the coin inside of it potentially. You're kind of having this fluid, and then you can put in whatever you want. Put in marbles,
yes,
or gemstones. Okay, that's kind of the idea, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Although I cannot replicate them yet.
We're definitely going to talk when you do that. That's going to be incredible.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So we just maybe need to shift our perspective on how some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I love the way that you say, you know, if it looks like it was molded or if it was soft at a point in time, then it's quite possible that it was molded or it was soft at a point in time. And I think similar to this, if it looks like it's utilizing some technology that we have no evidence for, maybe we need to shift our perspective as to what we're looking for. Maybe we're not looking for the right things. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Thank you so much. This has been a really, really illuminating talk. I love that you're doing this. This is something where, you know, anybody at home, pick something that you want to find out about, right? And just start digging into it. And who knows where it's going to lead. I think that's the coolest part of the story is that, you know, anybody can do this.
That's why I'm building this community and try to convince people to try out things. And we already run into surprising facts just by try to recreating these stones. Yes.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marcell. How can people stay in touch with you or continue to follow what you're doing in this space?
I'm very active on Twitter. I'm sorry, not Twitter, on X. But my handle is a little bit complicated, so they can search for my name, Marcell. I'll have that linked
in the description as well.
Oh, right. Okay. And I have the explanation page of natrontheory.com. Okay. And there is a link on the bottom. They can click on it and visit my X page.
Sweet. Well, thank you very much for your time, joining us all the way from Budapest. It's really been an honor to speak with you today, Marcell.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome to come back anytime, and I love chatting with you. So thank you for coming on, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.